Imagine a modern arena, where blinding lights cut through the air like razor-sharp blades, and the atmosphere is so heavy that you can almost hear the pounding hearts of millions of viewers through their screens. At the center of this storm stands Brianna Carter, 32 years old, an unyielding warrior from Birmingham, Alabama, a city whose smoky streets forged her iron will. She's not some slick-suited business executive sitting in a plush office. No, Brianna is a storm, a survivor, a woman who built a multi-million-dollar empire out of the ashes of poverty with nothing but blood, sweat, and sleepless nights. But don't mistake her for a benevolent angel. No, Brianna is a rebel, a disruptor, someone who will tear through the rules to deliver justice to those the world has trampled upon. Her latest project? A wild, audacious scheme, a direct challenge to the system, empowering young black girls, the forgotten warriors, by placing in their hands the ultimate weapons: knowledge, wealth, and mentorship from the world's elite. This isn't charity, this is a declaration of war. Then, like a cruel twist of fate, the gates of hell swing open. Brianna is invited onto The Morning Perspective, the infamous talk show where millions of drama-hungry eyes feast on every drop of blood spilled. This is her chance to roar before the world, to tear apart society's facade with stories of girls crushed by the system but who rise with fists raised high. But wait, this isn't a cozy tea time chat. The woman standing in her way is Veronica "Ronnie" Steele, the undisputed queen of ruthless journalism, a monster in human form with a tongue sharper than a scalpel and a smile as cold as death. Ronnie isn't just famous, she's a dark legend, a woman who takes pleasure in chewing up dreams and spitting them out on live television, all for the applause of a bloodthirsty audience. Anyone who steps into Ronnie's domain knows one thing: you either leave victorious or get crushed into dust beneath her designer stilettos. Brianna knows this. She has smelled danger from miles away. Her years of hustling under the scorching sun, selling cheap jewelry, her nights spent wrestling with nightmares and self-doubt, have forged her into an unbreakable machine. She hasn't come here seeking sympathy, she's here to take the throne. On the fateful day, Brianna strides into the Los Angeles studio like a firestorm, clad in a jade green suit that blazes like hellfire, her eyes burning with an unshakable pride. Cameras lock onto her like loaded guns, the audience growls like wild beasts, hungry for blood. Ronnie sits on her throne, lips curled into a devilish smile, a smile that promises destruction. Brianna Carter, everyone. Ronnie's voice booms like thunder heralding the apocalypse, her hand sweeping through the air as if she has just unleashed a caged beast. The crowd erupts into deafening roars, the air thick with the scent of gunpowder. The battle for survival has begun, and only one will rise from the ashes. The stage lights blaze down like hellfire, illuminating the battleground where Brianna Carter and Veronica "Ronnie" Steele faced off like two wild beasts ready to tear each other apart. The air in the studio was thick, heavy, like the sky before the storm of the century. The audience held their breath, their eyes gleaming with bloodlust and curiosity. Brianna, her hair billowing like a victory flag, her gaze sharp as a blade, was the first to speak. Her voice rang with pride as she recounted her journey, from the darkest days hustling in flea markets to standing at the peak of a multi-million-dollar empire. But this wasn't a fairy tale, this was a declaration of war, a vow that she would burn through every barrier to bring light to the girls buried beneath the weight of the system. The audience erupted, their applause rolling like thunder, but Ronnie just sat there, her twisted smile like that of a wicked puppet master, her eyes flashing with danger. She didn't clap. She was waiting. Then, like a venomous snake striking its prey, Ronnie leaned forward. Her voice was sweet, but razor-sharp as it sliced through the air. Brianna, that was quite the speech. But let's be honest, this program of yours, the so-called salvation for black girls, isn't it just proof that they're too weak to rise on their own? The studio went dead silent. A murmur spread like wildfire, a few in the crowd chuckled, but Brianna didn't blink. She stood still, as unmoving as a war goddess, but inside, the flames of rage roared. Weak, she echoed, her voice dropping to a storm's low growl. Ronnie, this world has bound their hands and stolen their dreams before they even had the chance to open their eyes. I don't give them pity, I give them the weapons to shatter those chains. The audience roared, applause crashing like a tidal wave, but Ronnie simply smirked, her fingers tapping against the desk like a predator calculating its next move. Without missing a beat, Ronnie struck again, her words sharper than a dagger to the heart. You talk about the system as if it's the enemy. But Brianna, isn't the so-called American dream about pulling yourself up? Why all the excuses? The crowd erupted into whispers, a few nodding in agreement, but Brianna wasn't about to be swept away. She tilted her head, her eyes flashing like lightning, and countered with a slow, dangerous smile. The American dream? Oh, Ronnie, it's a beautiful dream if you were born with shoes on your feet. But for people like us? We were thrown into a pit, no shoes, no rope, while others stand at the top, laughing, telling us to just climb. I don't make excuses, I'm building a bridge so they can cross. Cheers erupted, some audience members leaping to their feet, but Ronnie only laughed, cold, sharp, like breaking glass. Her eyes gleamed with madness. She wasn't done. Diving in like a starving wolf, Ronnie's voice dripped with mockery. A bridge? Or a wall? You focus on race, on black girls, what about everyone else, Brianna? Don't you see you're creating another divide? The words exploded like a bomb. The audience gasped, the air thick with the scent of gunpowder. Brianna clenched her fists, her nails digging into her skin, but she did not falter. She stood tall, her voice now ringing like a funeral bell. A divide? Ronnie, you want to talk about walls? The real wall was built centuries ago when opportunities were locked away, and the key was thrown into the ocean. I'm not building walls, I'm tearing them down, brick by brick, so these girls can walk through and trample on the ruins you call unity. The studio erupted. The crowd roared like a Roman Colosseum, fists pounding on seats, voices screaming, "That's right." Ronnie sat frozen, her smile stiff, a flicker of panic flashing in her eyes. But someone like Ronnie never goes down easy. She leaned in, her voice now a low whisper, like death itself. You talk a good game, Brianna. But be careful, tearing down walls is one thing. What if you bring the whole world crashing down? The air stood still. Brianna met Ronnie's gaze, fearless, and whispered back with a force that shook the room. If the world crumbles under the weight of truth, let it fall. I'll rebuild it from the ashes. The audience went wild, their cheers shaking the studio like an earthquake. But the battle wasn't over. Ronnie was winding up for her final, fatal blow, and Brianna knew that one wrong step could mean being crushed beneath the iron grip of this ruthless queen. The studio shook like a battlefield after a great war, invisible dust rising from the razor-sharp words exchanged between Brianna Carter and Veronica Ronnie Steele. Brianna's eyes, burning like an unquenchable fire, locked onto Ronnie, the woman who now sat there, her artificial smile shattered into pieces, her hands trembling as they clutched her water glass like a last lifeline. The audience roared, their applause crashing like a tsunami against the shore, but Ronnie, the once untouchable queen, was now just a ghost, cornered with no escape. She took a deep breath, trying to reclaim her signature sweet tone, but it now came out as the hiss of a wounded snake. Brianna, you want to tear everything down, but have you thought about the ones left behind? The ones who aren't part of your war, what happens to them? Where's the justice for them? A final, poisoned arrow. But Brianna didn't flinch. She rose, no, she ascended like a war goddess emerging from the ruins, her emerald suit gleaming like the armor of a king. Her eyes flashed, her voice thundered through the storm. Justice? Ronnie, you want to talk about justice? When a city is on fire, you don't stand there and blame the firefighter for saving the homes already in flames, you thank them for keeping the whole world from turning to ash. I'm not leaving anyone behind, I'm pulling the buried ones out of the graves that people like you call stability. The crowd went wild, their screams rolling like the battle cries of 1,000 warriors. Some jumped onto their seats, others punched the air as if they were fighting alongside Brianna. Ronnie opened her mouth, but Brianna didn't let her breathe. She stepped forward, her voice now a low, lethal verdict. And don't pretend this is about everyone. This is about your comfort, about the ones at the top looking down and telling us to stay quiet. But I won't be quiet, Ronnie. I will scream until the whole world hears me, and if they refuse to listen, I will burn everything down until they have no choice but to see. The studio exploded, not in applause, but in a hurricane of pure, raw energy. The audience erupted, screaming Brianna's name as if she were a savior descending from the heavens. For the first time in her legendary career, Ronnie was speechless. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out, as if Brianna had drained the very soul from her with words alone. The cameras zoomed in, capturing the moment of collapse, wide, panicked eyes, sweat streaking down layers of expensive foundation, the once arrogant smirk reduced to a desperate, broken grimace. Cut, the director's voice rang out, but no one cared. The audience was still roaring. Social media erupted like a digital earthquake. Hashtag Brianna Carter and hashtag Morning Perspective shot to the top of the trending list in seconds. The clip of Brianna dismantling Ronnie spread faster than wildfire across a dry field. She just set the world on fire, a tweet screamed, racking up thousands of shares. Beyoncé herself retweeted the video with a single caption, "The Queen has spoken." Backstage, Brianna walked into her dressing room not as a victor, but as a monarch reclaiming her throne from a fallen usurper. Her phone buzzed relentlessly, messages from young girls crying with gratitude, emails from power players begging for a meeting, and hate mail from bitter nobodies. She didn't care. Sitting in her Los Angeles hotel, gazing down at the city glowing beneath her like spoils of war, Brianna whispered to herself, "This is just the beginning." The next morning, she returned to Birmingham, welcomed like a hero. Aaliyah, a 19-year-old girl from her program, ran up to her, eyes brimming with tears. "You made the whole world listen, Ms. Brianna." Brianna smiled, resting a hand on her shoulder, her voice low and steady like an unshakable vow. "No, Aaliyah. I only lit the path, it's your turn to set it ablaze." The battle on air had ended, but the fire Brianna ignited would never die. She hadn't just defeated Ronnie, she had rewritten history, shattered every limitation, and declared to the universe, no one could stop her. No one could extinguish this fire. The world had changed. And it would never be the same again.